What's up, guys? Welcome back to Floater Gang. A lot has happened this past week, so we're just going to dive right in, talk about the playoffs. First off, I think we should start off with Milwaukee versus Miami. First, obviously, we'll get to the Miami side of things. I want to start with Milwaukee, though, because a lot has to change. A lot's going to change. So first, I want to just talk about specifically the state of the coach for Milwaukee. What should they do about Mike Budenholzer? Marvin, you can begin.
I I think it's time to let him go. Because I remember the season that they won the finals, he was on the brink of getting fired, and that was obviously the best year. And they haven't really come that close, especially in playoffs, to being that good this season and the season before that.
Mhm.
So I think he's not the guy, and unfortunately, that it's time to let him go and look for someone else.
Yeah, so I've thought about it, and so take out the title year. Obviously, it's hard to say, oh, take out the title year because that's big. But
Mhm.
let's just do that for the scenario. Take out the title year. Milwaukee has reached the conference finals once with Giannis. I mean, that's kind of ridiculous that you've only reached the conference finals once besides the title year. And in that conference finals, they blew a 2-0 lead, uh, largely to the lack of adjustments they made. And then the next year, they lost to Heat in five, when they were the heavy favorites in that series as well, because of lack adjustments made. And then they won the title. Obviously, I'm not going to say they were lucky because every team is somewhat lucky on their title run. I'm not in any way taking away that title run, but largely Giannis's dominance carried them that title run. Um,
Oh yeah.
there were several series where Drew Holiday couldn't hit a shot. Um, Chris Middleton was pretty great throughout, but they were largely carried by Giannis in that series. There wasn't a whole lot of coaching adjustments made that had to be made because Giannis was Giannis. And then you go to last year, they lost in seven to the Celtics. There was no Chris Middleton, but again, Giannis averaged like 40 points per game that series. Sorry about my dog. About 40 points per game that series, give or take. And then you come to this year, they lose to five to the Heat. Obviously, Giannis was out a couple games, but they won one of those games without Giannis. So, and they lost both of the games he came back. Um, I don't know, man. I think it's time to move on. He lacks the I don't want to say knowledge, but he lacks the confidence or the he just doesn't make the adjustments that you need to make to win a championship, like an Eric Spoelstra who played Duncan Robinson this series. He didn't play Duncan Robinson all season. He's like, I think Duncan Robinson would be a good matchup for the Bucks, and he was. He was amazing. Um,
True.
Cody Martin was awesome, and I mean that's what good coaches do. They make adjustments, uh, usually with role players who they're going to play, um, based on matchups, based on who can take advantage of their matchup. Um, and Mike Budenholzer didn't do that. He kind of just kept running at the same lineup, hoping that it would go differently. Things kept getting stale and garbage time because they were forcing Giannis to take jump shots. They were creating a wall, and no one else could knock down any shots. Um, so yeah, there's going to be significant changes. I think to start, you have to fire Mike Budenholzer. Rest in peace to his brother, though. That's a super sad story. Um, I'll let Valentine have a go at this.
Drew Holiday didn't perform to his fullest throughout the series, which I think was a big part because he is their top defender with Giannis and Brook Lopez. And his scoring performance was not as expected. Chris Middleton, though, showed up in the series, which was really helpful for Giannis not to be there. And also looking back at it, man, the Heat didn't even have Tyler Hero, who's one of their top scorers. Bucks still losing 4-1 in that series. they should just at least won another game. It is it's unbearable to watch the Bucks lose like that. And I also do think it is coaching to Mike Budenholzer. He has to make adjustments. Drew Holiday's not feeling it. Put Javon Carter in maybe. He's had some huge games this season. I don't know, just put him in maybe for a little bit, test it out. Like Deacon said, he did that, and look what it's brought him. Duncan Robinson went like 5 for 6 in one of the games from threes, which killed them. And I think the Bucks have to adjust to that too and just figure it out.
I also want to bring up the point that there were times where he did try to make adjustments. Like at the end of game 5, he subbed out Brook Lopez because which is crazy because he was like, "Oh, the Heat are going small, we better go small." And then the Heat got an alley-oop layup to tie the game. I'm like, how do you take Brook Lopez out in that situation? Anyway, just poor decision
And
making and lack of decision making is what really killed him. Go ahead.
yeah, and I heard too that Giannis was saying how on that buzzer or the game tire from Jimmy right there too, how Budenholzer was telling Drew to guard Jimmy, but Giannis was like, "I let me guard him. Like I want to guard him," but he's like, "No, no, no, Drew's got it." He still ended up kind of helping, but I wonder what would have been different if Giannis would have been the defender there too.
For sure. And if your star player wants to guard another
Their
star
star player.
player, especially a two-time, what is Giannis? Giannis just won one, but
Yeah.
he's a prolific defender for sure. I don't know.
The Heat they took a big shot at them, and basically the Bucks were just following them because the Heat were just killing them. The Heat coach got in Mike Budenholzer's head, and I think some of the players, and so they just basically played what the Heat wanted them to play,
Yeah.
which we all know every coach should know that is not what to do.
And I think the lack of doubling Jimmy Butler, or even like putting some ball denial on him. If he wanted the ball, he got it. It was just really bizarre.
56 points, dude. That is all you have Giannis, Drew Holiday, Brooks Lopez. You could not allow
And
that.
he still got 42 points in game 5 as well.
Yeah.
So
So who do you think would be a good or what changes to the roster do you think will happen or should happen? I'm thinking personally. I think Chris Middleton is gone. He's 32. He's going to want a bigger contract. The Rockets have expressed interest in him. I don't think you. Well, no, you definitely don't rebuild but I think a retooling is at hand. And I think clearing some money, especially because Chris Middleton and Brook Lopez are both free agents. You got to choose one of them. I think Brook Lopez is more important to that team, as good as Chris Middleton has been throughout the years. He's just not the same player anymore. So I think you prioritize Brook Lopez, and then you need to bring in some more depth and some more shot makers. That's what I think needs to happen. What about you?
yeah, I mean, I think obviously, right, definitely not rebuild. They have a good roster. Like we said, we all thought they proved during the regular season that they were the best team. We all thought they were going to be better in the playoffs, which didn't happen. But like we're saying, that's obviously not all the team's fault. That partially has to do with the coaching. They have to, I mean, the team has to perform better too. They got to win some more games in that. But yeah, I think with Chris Middleton and Brook Lopez, that's going to be an interesting decision to make. Because you have Bobby Portis too as backup center, who he clearly loves being there, right? So if they do end up letting Brook walk, or he wants to walk, then you still have a good center. Whether you want to start him, maybe not, but you can rely on him and he wants to play for you. But yeah, I think Brook Lopez is also probably a better option too, just with injuries recently. Brook Lopez plays all, if not, or most of, if not all of the games, where Chris Middleton, he's sitting plenty of games. That doesn't help your chemistry and your team either.
Yeah. Yeah, and not to mention he was the defensive player defensive player of the year runner-up this year. He is 35 though, so I'd be a little hesitant about paying him a lot of money. But at the end of the day, this roster, yeah, they're going to need Brook Lopez for sure. Like I said, I think they need more guys that can create their own shot, that they could rely on. at the end of games. I just don't think Chris Middleton is good enough to beat that guy anymore. And I don't know if you can get a guy that's that good yet or now. I don't know. I don't know where they go from here, but it'll be interesting.
I think that they're actually gonna keep Middleton because of how well or how long he's had a team connection with Giannis. They've played for how long? Like 6 years,
Like 10. maybe.
something like that. They play forever. They have a great team chemistry or player chemistry with each other now. I think it would be Brooke Lopez that would leave. They have Bobby Portis that would love to start. They can get a good backup somewhere out of this free agency, maybe. I think they're gonna keep Middleton though because of their connection for how long they've had it. And Middleton, I still think is a great player. He was just injury this season.
If Brooke Lopez leaves, maybe you think about starting Giannis at center. I don't know.
It's true.
So yeah, let's move on to the Miami side of things because they did what everyone thought was impossible. I think I had the Bucks winning in 4.
So like that, yeah.
Yeah. None of us had really any confidence. Maybe they steal a game, but obviously, so now they're going up against the Knicks. Shout out the Knicks, big time performance. Absolutely destroying the Cavs. Yeah.
And we'll get to
So
that later.
yeah. But yeah, let's focus on the Heat right now. Is Jimmy Butler a top 5 player, like in general?
No.
If we're counting the regular season, no, but if we're counting talent, I think so.
Okay. Why do you say no?
Well, if you say what is the talent, look at his regular season. That was his talent in the regular season, and it wasn't that.
Well, look at what he's doing in the playoffs.
Okay.
I think that's his
But
talent.
he didn't show that in the regular season. I think as an NBA player, you gotta show that all throughout the season, man. You can't be lacking in a regular season when you could be getting top 1, 2, or 3 seed.
Well, the Heat were the 1 seed last year. They lost in Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Final. The Heat were the 8 seed this year, and beat the 1 seed in 5 games. So, in my personal opinion, Jimmy Butler has showed that he is a top 5 player in this league. He's shown that he's a Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer. He has shown that he deserves to be in the conversation with all these other guys, the LeBrons, the Embiids, the Jokic's, the Tatum, maybe not Tatum. He's a little lower on the spectrum, but I just think what he's doing is obviously we're not underappreciating it because we're talking about it, but what he's doing is unprecedented. I mean, he just had one of the greatest playoff series of all time. He was. It's just what he's doing. What he did is really incredible. I just don't think we could. I can't put into words how amazing it was. A spiritual experience to watch that playoff series, quite honestly. And I have no doubts that he could run through any team. Because they did beat the Bucks, and obviously the Bucks have their own problems, but I don't. The Celtics struggled to close out the Hawks, and give Trae Young credit. It was basically just Trae Young. It's awful, but give Trae Young credit because he played his booty off. But it's the Hawks, you can't. They blew a 15-point lead in the 4th quarter in a closeout game on home court. They have their own issues. Obviously, we've seen the Bucks come back from multiple 10-point deficits in the 4th quarter and this playoffs alone. I mean, they were down 16 in the 4th in Game 5 in Milwaukee, if I'm correct. Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Anyway, so I just don't see a team that if they keep performing this way that they can't beat. However, I want to talk about the Knicks now because they whoops the freaking Cavs, and Donovan Mitchell looked awful all series. Darius Garland looked awful. Well, maybe not all series. He had a couple good games. Evan Mobley and Jared Allen looked terrible. The Cavs bench was terrible. So yeah, let's first focus on the Cavs. I want to get to the negatives first. So obviously they really struggled to score. They had some of the worst offensive performances of any team all season. They were the first team all season to not break 80. First of all, and they were top 10. They were top 5 in offense, I believe, all season long as well. What went wrong, in your opinion, Martin?
Absolutely everything. First off, I already had my doubts for them, or their depth at least, so their bench going into the playoffs.
Not to this
They,
extent, though.
I mean, not exactly, but they didn't prove me wrong.
For sure.
But their starters definitely did not help either. They averaged 94.5 points this series. The Knicks only averaged 98, but they did better. They obviously won 4 of the 5 games that they played. So for them, it doesn't matter as much. But Donovan Mitchell had one good game, maybe 2. Darius Garland had one good game, maybe 2. Jarrett Allen, he didn't even look like he was trying, honestly. Mitchell Robinson was just bullying him. Mobley wasn't doing what he normally did. They just didn't score, didn't do anything. LeVert had one good game, maybe. They all just were inconsistent. They all had maybe one good game. It was just a total mess for them. I don't know. I was surprised in a sense that they would lost in 5, but I also didn't see them going super far anyways. So it was a mess. They were a mess.
So a couple things I interpreted from that series is, so the lack of spacing was troublesome. Jared Allen and Evan Mobley sharing the court. They had a really bad offense, that was in the playoffs when they were both on the court. And I proposed this earlier, that starting Evan Mobley at the 5 would be best for the long term. I don't think they need to do that yet. But at some point, I think that would be a good step to take. Also, their 2 best scorers are 6 feet tall, which is nothing wrong. We see Trae Young, Donovan Mitchell in the past, dominate series at that height. But when you're going against these bigger, longer defenders like RJ Barrett, like Josh Hart, guys like that, it's going to be a little bit tougher for these smaller guards to score. So I think they're lacking a true wing scorer, just a true wing in general. Isaac Okoro was all right, but he's not going to get you buckets. Karis LeVert was freaking horrendous, except for that one game. I can't remember what game it was. I think it was game 2. Anyway, but yeah, so they're lacking a lot. Obviously, they have the foundational pieces, but to truly reach that next step, I think they're lacking. I think they need to transition Evan Mobley to the 5, and he's not ready yet, which is also an issue. He was getting bullied by Mitchell Robinson. So was Jared Allen, but Jared Allen was just playing soft. Evan Mobley just physically can't handle a guy like Mitchell Robinson, which is a problem. But I don't think it's unsolvable. I think Evan Mobley can put on some weight, put on some strength. But yeah, so I think they're lacking some spacing for sure. They're lacking a true wing that can score, that can defend, and that can just take some of the pressure off Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. Because if one of them's not on, they're not going to win the game, and that's a big issue.
Yeah, and I think one of the other problems too is they relied on Donovan Mitchell to score way too much, and he relied on himself. He wanted to take every shot, and that didn't help. I think you got to run Darius at point, and you got to let him play point. You got to let him do his thing.
But even then, it's just Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland at that point. You need more. Evan Mobley and Jared Allen aren't getting you buckets. Yeah.
Well, when Garland was going on, I think it was game 4, I want to say, 3rd quarter. He was spacing the ball out. He got people shots. He was hitting his own shots. They just need to do more of that because Donovan barely touched the ball when they did that. He barely touched it. They got on a roll, and then again, Garland got subbed out. Donovan got the ball the entire time. Missed shots, no spacing, never passes. Take the worst shots ever. But also Allen being lazy on defense, offense, rebounding, everywhere in general does not help the team whatsoever. And I thought he was going to go off, especially in game 4 when he had like 3 alley-oop dunks in a row or something like that. I was like, okay, maybe he's going to start, rolling. He's like excited, pumped up. Maybe nothing happened there. And it was unfortunate to see, but Brunson also played a heck of a series. shout out to Brunson for doing that. He was crazy, and I think he was
Best player in the series.
yeah probably.
And what's most impressive is that Julius Randle was, for the most part, terrible this series. He was also injured. He clearly was not healthy, but he gave it a go. But he was not good this series, and the Knicks still really dominated.
Because Barrett came out of nowhere and started doing it.
And
again.
Hart did a lot more too. Credit to Hart as well. He did.
Josh Hart.
He helped them a lot.
Every championship team needs a Josh Hart on their roster. A guy like Josh Hart, PJ Tucker, Josh Hart, yeah, guys like that. So I want to talk about the Miami versus Knicks series because I know I spoke like all this stuff about Jimmy Butler and the Heat and how I think they could beat anyone. But I think the Knicks win this series. Tom Thibodeau is a defensive mastermind. He's evolved as a coach. I used to think he was very one-dimensional. He was a regular season guy, but he outcoached. Obviously, JB Bickerstaff isn't the best coach, but at least in my eyes. But he outcoached the heck out of JB Bickerstaff. It's Eric Spoelstra, so it's going to be difficult. But I do think they can make the proper adjustments to guard Jimmy Butler to an extent, and just make Bam Adebayo beat them. And he's not going to do that. And especially without Tyler Hero, it's going to be really difficult. So, to what extent do you think the Heat need a Tyler Hero to win the championship?
I don't think they need him at all.
What's that?
Off the performance they just did against the Bucks without Tyler Hero, I think they did better without Tyler Hero.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to
They
say.
didn't have as many just chucked up shots, which Tyler Hero loves to do. But
I think at times they also miss those chucked up shots. Especially when Jimmy's out, they lack someone to run their offense or to just get them buckets. They were not great when Jimmy was not on the floor. And obviously they beat the Bucks, who were the favorites. So I'm not going to say that against a real team they're going to miss that, but I think against a team that like the Knicks, who are really deep, I think the deepest team left in the playoffs, they're going to need bench scoring badly. So we'll see if Duncan Robinson can provide.
There's a lot of pros and cons with the Tyler Hero chuck up shots and him being in the game. But I think at the end of the day, it's better without him. And I think Duncan Robinson especially is a lot more confident because he's not there.
What do you think?
I like the Heat, and I think they can take the series. The only thing I'm scared about is the Heat. The Bucks are the best team, but they beat the Heat by like an average of 3 points those last 2 games, with Jimmy scoring 42 and 56. So the biggest thing I'm scared about is will he consistently have 1 or 2 other guys that are scoring consistently? Because Vincent, that last game, I think he had like 22 as well, so he did pretty good. The question really is, Tyler Hero, normally you can get like 18 to 20 points out of him, right? But right now, the problem is they don't know who that guy is. Because Bam, at least against the Heat, he wasn't scoring much at all. Lowry wasn't scoring much. So either one or both of those guys need to step up again and figure out how to get buckets, or one of their role players, and Vincent, Strus, Martin, because they had good games too against the Bucks. They had their good games. So the thing I'm worried about is, will they have 1 or 2 other scorers besides just Jimmy Butler?
Yeah.
You gotta also put in thought, they also did just play the Milwaukee Bucks, the #1 seed, and they just won 4-1. Like, yes, it was close games, but it's because it's the Milwaukee Bucks. So I think the Heat are gonna come out winning in Game 6 or something like that.
That's what I'm saying. But like I said, if Jimmy has to score 40, 50 points a game, which he can do, it's going to get really tiring though. So my question is, how long can he keep that up, and how much backup will he have?
Yeah.
And that's the thing I'm scared about the most.
Yeah, definitely interesting thoughts. We spent way too much time on the Heat Knicks. I mean, I enjoyed it, but so we gotta move on here. So let's talk about Celtics Sixers. At the time, I mean, like before the season, or postseason started, I was really looking forward to this matchup. Now, not so much. Embiid is doubtful for game one. Just dude can't stay healthy. It's kind of sad, but I think the Celtics are gonna whoop them. Just in general, the Harden struggled in the playoffs again. He had an all right game 4 before game 3. Yeah, game 3 before he was ejected. Tobias Harris has been nice and consistent. Tyrese Maxey as well, but I just don't think they could keep up with the Celtics. While the Celtics did struggle to put out the Hawks, they also showed a lot of merit in that series. They got buckets late when they needed them. They showed poise on the defensive end, besides that Trae Young game winner, where Jaylen Brown was backpedaling for absolutely no reason. Anyway, so what are your thoughts on that series?
Honestly, both of those teams are possibly contenders, but I'm also not sold on either one of them just because of the struggles they showed. Like you said, the Celtics they ended up having to take 6 games against Atlanta. They couldn't close them out in game 5 at home. They let the Hawks come back multiple times or score more in the second half than they did, which is a bit scary because if you can't close out a game, that can hurt you a lot. The Sixers, they have their inconsistency problems too. But if Harden or not Harden, Harris and Maxey keep playing the way they do, and then you just have Harden kind of doing his thing and Embiid maybe getting boards and points obviously as well. That they're looking pretty good too. And then even without Embiid, I don't necessarily think. I think the only problem they have without Embiid, besides the fact that he's in the MVP conversation, is height. Because without him, Paul Reed is their center, who he does great, but they're just lacking height. And then if you have Horford and Williams, who Williams isn't the tallest on the Celtics, but he definitely plays like he's pretty big. And then you have Horford, who's tall too. You have like Griffin, who they're playing too. I think height / rebounds might be a bit of a problem, and that might end up hurting them with points.
Yeah, and what we saw in the Atlanta series is that they really focused on getting the ball into the paint. They attacked the paint for sure, and I mean the Hawks have Capella and Onyeka Okongwu, who are both fantastic interior defenders. But the 76ers, Paul Reed, God bless Paul Reed, but he's not just on that level. I think
No, he's not.
I think they're especially because they're going to have to suffocate the paint because Paul Reed's not that guy that opens up wide open threes, which the Celtics, that's their bread and butter. They love shooting those threes, Missoula ball. So yeah, are we? Is there anything else we want to say about that series, or should we?
I actually think the Sixers, if Joel Embiid will be healthy, will win it. I don't think Robert Williams can stop Joel Embiid. He's just too small, I think.
Well, I think what the Nets did somewhat is a recipe. They just said, we're not going to let Embiid shoot the ball. We're going to double him. We're going to put Nick Claxton on him. We're going to put a lot of length on him, make everyone else beat us. And they beat the Nets, but they didn't look good while beating the Nets necessarily. In terms of the Nets were in the game a lot. They couldn't close. They're a young team. They're a young team in terms of they haven't been together long. I mean, and they didn't have a true number one option in the clutch. Bridges has been really good, was really good, but he
underperformed.
I wouldn't say he underperformed. He performed how I expected, but he it was
underexpected or under.
He didn't play how a number one option should play in the clutch, but that's okay because it was his first playoff series, and at the end of the day, he's not a number one option on a championship team. But that being said,
I think he underperformed for his regular season, how he did in the regular season. And then going into the playoffs like that was a little disappointing. I was expecting a little more oomph to his game, and
yeah. But yeah, so they're not gonna be able to do that against the Celtics. The Celtics are gonna outscore you. They're gonna obviously they have the uh the players to use the same strategy on Embiid, make everyone else beat you, and they have the one-on-one players uh to guard a Harden, a Maxey. Derek White is the third best player on that team, at least in the playoffs. He's been amazing on defense. Marcus Smart, obviously, defensive player of the year. Tatum and Brown are no slouches on D. Horford and Rob Williams are obviously really good on D. Yeah, I just don't think it's a good matchup for the 76ers. We'll see if my take lasts the test of time, but I think the Celtics have that series.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right, so
But
let's
it'll
move
be
on.
interesting.
Oh, sorry. Let's move on to the Suns versus Nuggets. The first game is happening on the 29th, I believe.
It's tomorrow, the first game.
Today.
So,
Oh yeah, today.
So yeah, so let's talk about that series. I expect the Phoenix's overload or playing their stars so many minutes will catch up to them in terms of not in terms of they won't be good enough, but I just think they'll be fatigued at this point. They played 40+ minutes every single game last series. They're going to have to do it again. Nuggets are going to outscore you. They're going to be prolific on the offensive end. They look pretty good on defense in the playoffs in terms of
true.
obviously Jokic is not a great defender, but I don't know. I don't feel like he was abused at all in that Timberwolves series. Obviously, Chris Paul is a different animal than Mike Conley, but Mike Conley's no slouch when it comes to the pick and roll, and I don't think he was taken advantage of, but to like a crazy extent. And obviously the Nuggets are going to shoot more threes than the Suns. The Suns rely mostly on the mid range. They don't get to the foul line a ton. Well, they did in the Clipper series, but their season sample size shows that they don't get to the line a ton. The Nuggets get to the line a good amount, and so the Suns are going to need to defend their booties out first of all to win this series, and they're going to need to stretch out to the 3-point line because three's more than two, and the Nuggets shoot a lot of them. So in order to keep up, the Suns are going to need to shoot a lot of threes. Yeah. Sorry. I was on a supposed to be there. So you can go ahead.
Yeah, I also think Jokic is going to be a really big problem in this series because I do not trust Ayton to lock him down at all. He will abuse Ayton in the paint. Maybe Biyombo will stop him a little bit, but he only plays so much and he's only going to do so much as well. He's older. So I think Jokic can definitely take advantage of that, whether it's him scoring or him getting open passing lanes for his teammates to just give it to him, easy layup or dunk. And then they can shoot the free ball as well. So if they do the Suns start putting their defense inside the paint more, then you got better looking threes for the Nuggets that they can also hit that. So, and then the Suns depth, I think that'll catch up to them as well. Like you said, if Booker, Durant, and Paul are playing 40+ minutes every game, they're going to get tired. They're, especially if it comes towards the end of the game and they have to play defense, they're going to be tired. Ayton's going to have to guard the paint by himself for the most part, at least with size, unless they put Ayton and Biyombo in at the same time. But I don't think that's the smartest move either because then you're too big and don't have enough floor spacing. So I think the Nuggets can take this series, they take advantage of Jokic on Ayton, whether that means he scores or whether that means he passes it to get other guys really good looks.
Yeah. So what do you think is the best strategy to stopping Nikola Jokic? Because obviously you're only going to take away one aspect of his game. You could either let him cook in terms of let him score or make him get his teammates involved. Which option would you prefer to the Suns to to attack?
I think at least for the beginning, I mean, I don't know, honestly, it's tough. They might have to just kind of test that out to see what they can keep up with more, whether it's him getting their guys open passing lanes or good looking threes, or if it's him just kind of doing his thing in the paint. Obviously, if it is threes, that's worth more, but the question is how efficiently will they shoot the three in each game, right? I mean, you never know. Maybe they have a cold night and you're like, okay, sweet, let's take advantage of this. Keep playing defense on them too, so they can't get hot as well as best you can. So I think that could hurt the Suns too, because they might have to kind of test that out a little bit and see which one will work better for them to win the game.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on to the Warriors versus Kings. They just went to a game 7, or they just forced game 7. The Kings did. They won on the Warriors home court, which was unexpected. This is the only game 7 we're going to get in the first round, so I'm looking forward to it. But so what are your impressions on that series? And who do you think has the advantage, Martin?
That's tough. Both teams. So Sacramento at home, Golden State's only been so good on the road. I said this before too. Experience might end up taking this game because the Warriors have been in more playoffs. They've been in game 7s more. The pressure won't affect them as much. Whereas the Kings, it could affect them a lot more just because of the pressure to get to the next round in a game 7 against the defending champs as well. So I don't know how the pressure will get to them, but that might hurt them. And I mean, honestly, I think that's the only thing, the biggest thing about the winner of this game is if the Kings play / shoot confidently and obviously hit those shots as well. But if they don't, I think the Warriors will take that because they'll be just fine. They've been there before. It's not like, oh crap, we've never been here. It won't be too much pressure on their shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Kings crowd, just like in games 1 and 2, who knows if the Kings crowd shows up again too, and maybe that'll affect the Warriors a little bit too. But I think experience at the end of the day can depend on the winner of this game.
So right, so I kind of disagree with that. In terms of experience will win the Warriors this game, or experience will help for sure, but experience I think is out the window at this point. Experience wins you that game 6 at home, and you got freaking blown out. Kings are home. Kings have shown that they're more dominant at home. They've won 2 out of 3 games. So I think everything's out the window. It's a game 7. Experience doesn't matter. Obviously, in this series though, this is why I'm taking the Warriors. Is you want the best player on the floor, and that's Steph Curry. So in a game 7, you're gonna want that guy. Because all it takes is one good performance from, all it takes is one performance from Steph Curry, to put them over the top. Or could we see that with De'Aaron Fox? I don't know. But yeah, I expect the Warriors to win. I expect Steph Curry to have a vintage game. This is, I wouldn't say it's a legacy defining game, but it's super important that the Warriors win this game because they're an older team. They got guys going into the last year of their deals. They got guys that are going to be free agents. If they go out in the first round, then you can't justify running the same roster back. You got to make changes somehow, some way. And the only way to make changes is to break up the big 3, which is something they don't want to do. I think they need to win this game to keep this roster together, to keep not necessarily the dynasty going, because the dynasty is already cemented and it's a crazy legacy of what they put together. But to keep this same roster together, you have to win this game. You cannot be a first round exit. So I disagree with that. The Warriors don't have much pressure. I think the Warriors have all the pressure in the world, and the Kings have no pressure. No one expected them to be here. no one expected them to even get to the game 7 in the first round. And they're here and they're home and they're going to play loose. They're going to play free. And I think that gives them an advantage, but I think at the end of the day, when you have the best player on the court and potentially the world, that it gives you the biggest advantage. What do you think?
I got the Kings winning, and here's the reason why. They just had the biggest win in the series, which was 19-point win, and the Warriors were home. Now the Kings are home. The Warriors are worse away. The Kings are really good at home. And I think De'Aaron Fox will have a 40-point game in game 7. Curry will have a 37-point game in this game 7. It's going to be a showdown, and the Kings will end up winning, I think, by like 5.
All right. Yeah, that's definitely. I mean, I think at the end of the day, anything's possible in game 7. But I don't expect. I mean, I expect the Warriors to take the ball out of De'Aaron Fox's hands. I think make anyone else beat them. And at times, like Malik Monk, he was fantastic game 1. So they just have to, like Kevin Huerter, he's had a couple great game 7s. But anyway, I think the Warriors are going to make one of them have a great performance. They won't let De'Aaron score 40. Obviously, you can't just not let him, but they will do anything in their power. They'll double him. Sabonis has not been good this series. I don't think he's been pretty much a non-factor or even a negative at times because he's not the greatest defender. I don't know. I just they're going to need a role player to step up, whether that's Keegan, whether it's Kayvon Huerter, whether that's Malik Monk.
Malik Monk even did great last game.
He did.
25.
Yeah. So we'll see if he can replicate that. Even Keegan Murray had a good game last game. He's been largely not great this series, but last game he was really good.
Well, his shooting percentage was bad, but he put up good numbers.
Yeah. He hasn't been as efficient as he has been.
As crazy as it
He just
sounds, every game the Warriors have won, Kevon Looney has had an insane rebounding game.
Yeah,
And I
which
think
makes
it will
sense.
come down to if he is rebounding a crazy amount.
Well, I think Kevon Looney having a great rebounding game is a given. I think it's whether or not everyone else has a great rebounding game. But, the Warriors, besides Draymond Green, struggled on the boards last night. I think they need to dominate the boards. Don't let offensive rebounds happen. Get your get offensive rebounds as well. Because that's a lot of what the Warriors have built their dynasty on, getting offensive rebounds, getting second chances, kick out threes, stuff like that.
Draymond wasn't even good at boards yesterday either. He only got 4.
Yeah, that needs to change, definitely for the Warriors.
They need to get more boards. I think boards is a big part of the series as well. And then Keegan, he's actually been pretty efficient besides the last game. It's just he hasn't been shooting the ball as much. That's why last game he was so bad at making his shots, because he was actually shooting it, which is exactly what Mike Brown wants though. He wants him to shoot whether he makes or misses it.
What are his splits looking like?
His splits?
Yeah.
Let's see.
This is not relevant. It's just I'm interested.
Keegan. So let's see. His first, so he was 1 for 5 the first game, 0 for 1 the second game. So he's shot
0
6
for 1?
shots. Yeah, he shot 1 shot the second game.
That's not acceptable.
He was 2 for 7 the third game, but game 4 and 5, he was 9 for 13 and 4 for 5. So again, he didn't shoot much in game 5, but he shot well. And then game 4, 9 for 13, that's really good. And then last game, 5 for 17. So I think he just needs to keep shooting it.
For sure.
I mean, that's his biggest skill set right now is shooting. So he just needs to keep shooting it, and Mike Brown wants that as well. So he's not mad. He's got to just keep shooting the ball, and his shots will fall.
Definitely agree. Well, they have to, or else they're going home.
Yep.
So let's move on to the blowout of the playoffs. The embarrassment of the playoffs. Grizzlies 85 to Lakers 125 and a closeout game. Lakers looked really dominant. Grizzlies did not look good at all. But let's talk about the Grizzlies for a second. Obviously, I don't think I think you gotta get Dylan Brooks off the team. He's just at this point you gotta get him out of that locker room, gotta get him off that team. Or maybe he's impactful in the locker room, but he's a liability on the court at this point. His defense was subpar during the playoffs, and he was horrendous on offense. And that's kind of how the same kind of deal it was in the regular season. I mean, he was good in defense in the regular season, but he couldn't hit a shot. Shot sub 40% from the field.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I
also
think-
heard rumors. I heard rumors that if they lose the first round, that they might look to get rid of him. So that'll be interesting. But my question too is, who wants him? Does anyone actually want him?
That's true. Yeah, that would be interesting to see for sure. I think a team like Minnesota could use him, but I think they just need more wing defenders. But let's. I don't think the Grizzlies. You don't need really examine much for the Grizzlies. They're missing a lot of key pieces. Obviously they're young. They're going to get better. I think this is just a roadblock along the way. I'm so really looking forward to this team's future. They have an extremely bright future, definitely.
Yeah.
Maybe they're missing one wing scorer, so maybe they could replace Dylan Brooks for another wing that can put the ball in the hoop. But so let's talk about the Lakers' point of view. So I mean, this was an interesting series for sure. It was not necessarily the LeBron show. I think he was the best player in the series, but what was interesting is that he was not as ball dominant as usual. It was a lot of D'Angelo Russell, a lot of I almost said Alex Caruso, Austin Reeves. There's a lot of those two guys facilitating, handling the ball, which I think is definitely a good thing. So it could either be one of two things: LeBron is dead tired, or LeBron is saving his energy. So let's hope it's the latter for LeBron's sake. But if it's the former, I think they really have a issue at hand right now. Because if LeBron keeps playing at this level, they're not going to get past. I think they could probably get past the Warriors or Kings, but I don't think they'll get past the Nuggets or Suns. What do you think?
I disagree. Because I think even if it is him being tired, he's on hopeful note, but they're still winning games, and Reeves and D'Lo are doing what they need to do. So
I mean, yeah, but they were playing an injury-riddled Memphis team. Obviously, it's not you play who's in front of you, and they dominated them, or they beat them pretty handily. But I just don't think. I think LeBron has to be playing at his peak. Or 80 and 80. 80 was not great in this series. One of them two has to be playing at an MVP caliber level to beat one of the top teams.
true. Yeah, I'm just saying that I don't think it's the end of the road for them if it is LeBron being tired. And obviously, if it's him saving his energy, then look out, because they're going to be crazy. But either way, I think they still have a chance. I don't think they're ruled out. But yeah, Davis, he needs to at least get consistent. You need to know what you're getting from him. You can't get 30 points from one game and then get 10 from him the next game. You got to know what you're getting from him. Reeves and D'Lo been pretty good at playmaking. They just keep doing what they're doing. LeBron, I think at least for now, keep doing what he's doing. If he needs to take over, he knows when and how to do that. He did that in, what was it, game 4, I think, to win that game.
Yeah.
So he knows when to take over, and he can. So I think that might be it too. He's just saving his energy for if/when he needs to take over. And that's why he's like, all right, Reeves, D'Lo, just kind of do your thing. If you need me, I'll be here still. But yeah, I think Davis needs to get consistent. You know what you're getting from him. But besides that, I think the Lakers are looking pretty good.
I have nothing to complain about what y'all said. I think D'Lo needs to start showing up more, just like he did the other night. 31 points. That was great by him. He needs to do that more consistently. And I think if he does that, they'll go really far throughout this playoffs.
Well, he doesn't even need to put up 31 on that. I think he just needs to make
like
his
18,
shots.
yeah,
consistent.
not shoot 2 for 9 threes like he did the other night. Same with LeBron. He shot 1 for 7. What game? 5.
Yeah, but yeah. So and that was my complaint about the Lakers at the beginning of the playoffs is that they are just inconsistent. And I don't think, and we saw them drop a potential closeout game in Memphis, because they just didn't show up that night. And the games like that, while it didn't ultimately cost them, I think at some point against a better team like the Denver or Phoenix or Kings or the Warriors, it will be costly. So like you said, AD's got to bring his A game, or he's got to at least be a consistent factor. You know, it's really frustrating how he just can't get his act together. Yeah, it's frustrating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other thoughts to add?
No, I'm looking forward to the next round. Obviously, we got Game 7 of that Warriors Kings on the 30th on Sunday, and that'll be a game to look forward to, I think. And then obviously that'll set the whole round 2 of the playoffs, even though it starts today. But all the matchups will be set after that game, so that'll be interesting.
For sure. All right. So let's talk about some second round hot takes. We do this for every round. So who would like to begin with their hot take?
I'll begin.
Okay.
Jimmy Butler will have a 45-point game against the Knicks.
Okay.
Definitely
And
possible.
then we're doing West and East, right? One
Yeah,
each.
yeah.
Okay, and then in the West. LeBron getting a 30-point triple double.
Getting or averaging?
Getting. He's gonna get 35-point triple double.
Okay.
35-point triple double?
Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting, for sure. So I bet on Jokic last week or last hot takes. And he didn't disappoint the Nuggets. He just disappointed me. But so I'm a double down on it. I think Jokic has a big time series. They're going to need him too. He's going to average a 30-point triple double. It's happening.
I'll see for this time too, instead of going.
Yeah, I'm not going 35, 15, 12. It's just going to be 30 points.
Just 30 triple double.
Yeah. They're going to need him to provide, and I think he will. What do you got, Marvin?
What's your East?
Yeah, what's your East, man?
Oh, let me think about it. You go ahead.
Okay. Well, my East, I'm gonna go to Tobias Harris. I'm gonna say he averages 20 points with 7 rebounds. Actually, I'm just gonna go 20 points. Actually, I'll go 20 points and 7 rebounds.
Okay.
I'll do the combination.
Very cool.
And do you have your East or do you want me to do my West?
Yeah, I'll do my East. JB and JT, the Jays, will each average 30 points in a 5-game series.
Okay. And a 5-game series.
Wow.
For the hot take sense, just in case it goes more than 5, we're just gonna go with the point one.
Yeah.
But if it goes
Yeah,
in
that's
5, even more credit to you. Even more credit to you.
Yeah.
And then my West one, I want to go under Jamal Murray for this one. I'm gonna say he averages 25 points a game.
Interesting.
All right. So and then so we have our new hot takes for this round. And let's hope we can make our record better, because last time we combined were 1-5. So, well, technically one of them is still out in the running, and that one was De'Aaron Fox.
What was the one that was right?
Well, I think right now, actually, technically, we're 0-5, but De'Aaron Fox
Oh.
might hit.
But there's
So-
one that could hit. Okay.
There's one that could hit. So let's definitely hope we get this next round a few more, at least 2 right.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
definitely want to be in that record up to.
Definitely.
Just an
right.
interesting fact for you guys.
Cool. That was super fun. Thank you guys for watching. Remember to like and subscribe. Follow the
Drop your hot
Instagram.
takes.
Drop your hot takes in the comments. Follow the Instagram. We're very active on the Instagram. We're asking a lot of questions. We're dropping reels. So just check that out. Yeah. So see you later.